Hi scholars, let's look at TEK 4.8b. I can convert measurements within the same metric measurement system, customary or metric, from a smaller unit into a larger unit, or a larger to smaller unit when given other equivalent measures represented in a table. In this one, I'm going to just focus on customary and metric units of length and the conversions. So let's get started. Okay, let's quickly talk about inches, feet, yard, and miles. Inches is about the length of your finger, the middle part. That's about 1 inch. A foot is the length of a ruler. 12 inches is 1 foot. And then a yard is actually 3 feet. So here is a yardstick right here. So 3 rulers can fit into that. And then when you have 1,760 of these yardsticks, that's 1 mile. So you can watch my other video where I introduce all that to you if you want to review it. And I'm going to show you how to convert. So when you're converting, the main rule is when you're going from a small unit to a big unit, you will divide. When you're going from a big unit to a small unit, you will multiply. So let's start with a small example, such as I have 4 yards. I want to know how much is that in feet. So the first step is recognize you're going from yards to feet. Which one is bigger? Well, when we talked about this, 3 feet equal 1 yard, which means yards is larger than feet. Okay, so I'm going from a big unit to a small unit. Okay, so when you're going from big to small, you multiply. So I always tell my students, set up a table, which that is also part of the TEK, by the way. Set up a table and write 1 yard equals, 1 yard equals 3 feet. Make sure, like, if it's yards here, then you keep it the same. So that means if I had 2 yards, that would be doubled, which is 6 feet. 3 yards would be 9 feet. 4 yards is 12 feet. The reason I know that is because 1 yard is 3 feet. So times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. It's very easy. And the questions that my students are doing, like on their assignments, there's always a table set up for them, which helps them. So sometimes that table will be filled out, and then it'll say, what would it be if it was 12 yards? You know, like they'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they'll say, well, what about 12? So my students just have to look at their measurement chart, recognize the pattern, and then use it. So let me give you another one. So my students will get a question like this, and then the main question will be, what would it be if it was 12 yards? So the table is set up and it's filled out and everything. My students just need to look at their mathematics chart and be like, well, 1 yard equals 3 feet. So that means every 1 yard I multiply by 3. And so then when you do this, you get that. So you have to use this rule, your mathematics chart, and then you're able to figure out how much it is. So suppose you get a question like this. 3 feet equals 36 inches, 4 feet equals 48 inches, 5 feet equals 60 inches. What would it be if it was 8 feet? So you have to first recognize, are we going from small to big or big to small? So feet is, 1 foot is a ruler, 1 inch is a part of a ruler. So we are going from a big unit to a small unit. Okay? So big to small means multiply. So it's going to be however many feet times something. And that's going to give you number of inches. So if you look at your mathematics chart, 1 foot is 12 inches. So I'm going to times each foot by 12. And then there you have that. So then when you do 12 times 8, you get 96 inches. So very, very easy. I actually like the TEKs this way, where they have a table set up for you. So I want you to see if you can figure this one out. Press pause, solve, press play when you're ready to check. So recognize, is this small to big or big to small? So this is big, miles are huge. This is small. Okay, so there's going to be a multiplication process involved. So if you look at your mathematics chart, 1,760 yards is 1 mile. So when you do that, it's 10,560 yards. Okay, let's look at the other kind now. So 24 inches is 2 feet, 36 inches is 3 feet, 60 inches is 5 feet. How many feet is 120 inches? So here's the thing. Recognize this is a small unit and this is a large unit or a big unit. So if you're going small to big, you're actually going to divide. Okay? 24 divided by something equals 2 feet. 36 divided by something equals 3 feet. 60 divided by something equals 5 feet. And then I will do 120 divided by something equals however many feet. So looking at this, 12 inches equal a foot. So here's my inches. I'm going to divide by 12. Because if I have 24 inches, every 12 inches make 1 foot. Does that make sense? So then if 24 divided by 12 equals 2 feet. So if I do 36 divided by 12, 12 goes into 36 3 times, so I get 3 feet out of that. 60 divided by 12 equals 5. 120 divided by 10 equals, I just said the answer. 120 divided by 12 equals 10 feet. Every 12 inches make 1 foot. So that's essentially what you're doing. Let's look at another one. We're going from feet to yards, and they want to know what would it be if it was 45 feet. So recognize this is small and this is big, so I will be dividing. So what do I divide? Well, according to this, 3 feet equals 1 yard. Every 3 feet, you're making 1 yard. So if I have 9 feet, I'm going to see how many times 3 can go into 9, and that actually equals 3. So I can get 3 yards out of 9 feet. 12 divided by 3 would give me 4 yards. 15 feet divided by 3 feet equals 5 yards. 45 divided by 3 feet equals 15 yards. Now I want you to try this one on your own. Press pause, press play when you're ready to check. Okay, so we were recognizing we're going from a small unit to a big unit, therefore there's going to be division. Sometimes I tell my students, like, put it over here and then put the equal sign, so you're setting up the problem. So I know 12 inches are in 1 foot, so 36 inches divided by 12 inches equals 3 feet. So when you go through the whole thing, 48 inches divided by 12 inches equal 4 feet. 60 inches divided by 12 inches equals 5 feet. 144 divided by 12 equals 12 feet. Alright, now let's talk about converting metric measurements of length. So millimeter, centimeter, meter, and kilometer. There is decimeter in between here, but it's very rarely ever used. You probably will never hear it. But I will just quickly discuss it down here. So just a refresher, millimeter is the thickness of a dime. So these little, wrong side of the ruler. So like each little line is a millimeter. Okay, so when you have 10, you've hit 1 centimeter. So that's why 10 millimeters equals 1 centimeter. When you get to 10 centimeters, that is called a decimeter. Very rarely ever talked about. And then once you hit 10 decimeters, you get a meter, but I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about 100 centimeters equaling 1 meter. So here is a meter stick right here. So that starts at 0, and it goes all the way to 100. When you have 100 centimeters, you have 1 meter. And then when you have 1,000 of these meter sticks, you have a kilometer. So what I like about this system is you either times by 10 or you multiply by, or you either times by 10 or you divide by 10. Sometimes it'll be times 100 or divide by 100, but you know, it's a base 10 system, so it works really well. So just like in the last clips with customary, we have a table. We are told 200 centimeters is 2,000 millimeters. 300 centimeters is 3,000 millimeters. 400 centimeters is 4,000 millimeters. So what would be 800? So we're going to recognize that this is a bigger unit than this one. So we're going from big to small. Even though a centimeter is small, but compared to a millimeter, this is the bigger unit. So please remember that. Just because like a centimeter seems small next to a kilometer, you know, you look at what two are you comparing it against. So this is greater than that. So right here it says every 10 millimeters, or every 1 centimeter is filled with 10 millimeters. So when I have 200 centimeters, when I have 200 centimeters, I'm going to times it by 10, and that's going to give me 2,000. So times 10 times 10 times 10 equals 8,000. It's very nicely set up, the table. And, you know, if they don't give you a table, you know, you can easily create it and just draw a bunch of lines and just start filling in the information that they give you. And use your mathematics chart and you'll be able to figure it out. So let's look at another one. 4 meters is 400 centimeters. 5 meters is 500 centimeters. 6 meters is 600 centimeters. 12 meters is what? So recognize that this is a big unit and this is the smaller unit. Now in every meter stick, every meter starting from here all the way over, there is 100 centimeters. I know you can't see it, but that very tip is 100. So every 100 centimeters equals a meter. So if I have 4 meters, that's 400 centimeters. 5 meters, 500 centimeters. 6, 600 centimeters. 12, 1,200 centimeters. I want you to try this one on your own. Press pause, press play when you're ready to check. Okay, so we are going from big unit to small unit, and every 1,000 meters is a kilometer. So if I have 3 kilometers, each kilometer is 1,000 meters. That makes it 3,000 meters. So my pattern is times 1,000. So then this would be 18,000 meters. Now I'm going to show you a real quick trick that you need to be aware of. So I want you to notice that this is going from meters to millimeters. So even though this is big to small and we know it's multiplication, on here it doesn't tell us how many millimeters are in a meter. But I do know that there's 100 centimeters in a meter, and there are 10 millimeters in 1 centimeter. So 100 times 10 equals 1,000. So then there's 1,000 millimeters in a meter stick. So then when I do this, I will know how many millimeters there are. So be careful with that. Sometimes, you know, it may not be directly on your mathematics chart. You have to figure out the conversion and then go from there. Okay, so let's look at this example. We're going from millimeters to centimeters. So I've flipped it around. This is the smaller unit now. This is the bigger unit. So small to big means division. So I know there are 10 millimeters in 1 centimeter. See right here? 10 little lines or 10 spaces in 1 centimeter. So it would be divide by 10, and that's going to tell you how many centimeters you can get out of every 10 millimeters. Now, if you don't know how to do division with zeros, it's a lot easier if you do it this way. When you're doing division, if you can find a 0 in both spots, like it's easy to eliminate it, and then you're just doing 20 divided by 1 equals 20. Does that make sense? 20 divided by 1 equals 20. It's just an easier way. But if that doesn't make sense, then you can do 10 goes into 2. Nope. 10 goes into 20. Yes, 2 times. 2 times 10 is 20. Bring down the 0. 10 goes into 0 0 times. 0 times 10 is 0. 0 is your answer. Or 20 is your answer. So here, 1,000 divided by 10. 10 goes into 10 once. 10 goes into 0, 0 times. Bring down the 0. 10 goes into 0, 0 times. 100 is your answer. You just got to be careful with the metric system when you're dividing by tens and hundreds, because you've got to keep track of your zeros. And always look at your answer, like your table for reasonability. So it's like, okay, 200 of this equals 20 of that. 300 of this equals 30 of that. 800 equals 80 of that. So if I have 1,000, my answer has to be more than 80. But it shouldn't be too big of a jump, because 800 to 1,000 is, 200 of a jump. So this should not be like 1,000. So, use that to help you. Okay, let's look at this one. 400 centimeters is 4 meters. 500 centimeters is 5 meters. 600 centimeters is 6 meters. 9,000 centimeters is what? So I know I'm going from a big... Nope, that's not true. Sorry. That's a small unit to a big unit. I know that every 100 centimeters I have a meter. So divide is my option, or that's what I have to do. Divide by 100. So be careful here. You have 9,000 divided by 100. So if you want to use my trick, you can balance it out, and then you've got 90 meters. I want you to try this one on your own. Press pause, work the problem, press play when you're ready to check. Okay, so this is small compared to the kilometer. So 1,000 meters are in a kilometer, and if you didn't notice, I went ahead and put that in the table for you. So if I have 1,000 meters and I'm taking out 1,000 meters, that would equal 1 kilometer. So if I had 2,000, I would have divided by 1,000, I would get 2 kilometers out of that. Same thing. So then 90,000 divided by 1,000. Cancel every pair of 0 that you can. Now notice I can't cancel that one because there's no more zeros on the left. So 90 kilometers.